Hello and welcome then to our local to global series, another episode here as we are the Random Wrestling Review. We're in June of 1999, and at the end of our last episode, we were kind of holding things up and looking around the world a little bit to see what was going on because I got to be honest, I had no plans for what was to come next with the promotion. I very much was winging it when I booked the last show in terms of what would come next. Well, I now know what's going to come next, but it's going to require a little bit of me doing some business to start with, and that is going to mean a couple of things. So I will confess, which is the first time I've done this, I've done a few things off screen. The main thing I did was try and forge a relationship with a new promotion because I decided what I wanted to do next was a bit of a kind of thing where we have a show where we're against another promotion in a night of action. So basically, there's going to be 6 matches, and you know, each match is going to be like match play. So each match counts for a point, and whoever gets the most points out of the two promotions wins. And I chose Omega just because they were one of the smallest promotions going. So if you look at Company Wars here, like, yeah, Omega's right down here. They've yet to run a show, but of course, my fans don't need to know that. That doesn't matter. So what we are going to do is continue. I also brought in, after I'd managed to do that, I brought in AJ Styles uh, as the first of those talent trades. So AJ Styles will be in our company for one match, and it's going to be for the next show. And I'm going to do the same now for yeah various other wrestlers. Um, So we also want to loan. So who else am I going to loan to put on this show? Well, first of all, the Renegade is someone I'm going to loan. And I've got to be honest, what I did here was really, I just, so not open to this proposal. I really was just um, looking for the wrestlers that were the most popular. The problem I've got here is that Omega are just not open to any more proposals. I thought this might be a problem. Um, Look, they don't want anybody else the one other than who we've already got from them. They won't even take the shadow. Why not? They're not interested in letting the renegade go on a trade scenario. Okay, well, we can live without him, but we can't live without too many of these people. So again, yeah, see, Brian Lawler's pretty important. Um, we could bring in Danny Davis. I'm gonna try and forge ahead with this, but it might not work. If not, we'll have to come up with something else for this next show. The idea is this show would be RWR versus RWR versus Omega for one night. There aren't too many of my guys that they're interested in either, which is really annoying. Yeah, they're not even interested in chemo apparently. Sean Stasiak, the Shadow they'd be interested in. Let's do that. So we've got Danny Davis and AJ Styles. This is not going very well at all for me though. Who else can we? Who else did we want to originally? Hey Crush, obviously R-Truth, presumably. Hang on, they might be interested in this. But again, I don't see anybody that they are willing to trade for. We are in a bit of trouble here if we can't do this because I've got no other plans for this episode. Uh, it doesn't look like there's anyone that they're willing to trade in for. Let me just. They don't think they're getting a good deal. Wonder if I can let them have a tag team. I mean, they won't even take the Simone Violence connection. They feel chemo's too expensive, and they don't think they're getting a good deal from Red Alert or a presumed bad deal either, bad crew either. So that's not going to happen. Oh, what can I do here? All right, okay. So this is fine. We can get them this way. That's better as far as I'm concerned. Um, I know this allows you to offer workers from your roster to another company for loan without asking anything in return. I don't want a permanent swap. Can I? Oh, I can't loan people off them for nothing in return. Which I find frustrating as all hell right now. Okay, is there anybody else on this roster that they are willing to give me? Because at the moment, I'm open to anything. Okay, so Loki for Barry Buchanan, we can get Loki in. So we've got three. So I've got Loki, Danny Davis, and AJ Styles in. None of those are particularly popular, and the three that are the most popular, none of them are going to be able to come. So let's just go and get a few others. Again, this is not how I'd hoped this would go. It really isn't. But I'm just going to have to do it anyway because this is what I've got planned for the next show. So we'll also bring in, so we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need 8 wrestlers technically to do what I wanted to do. We'll see if that's at all possible. We're going to get Shane Helms. We can surely get him for pretty much anyone, I would have thought. Kiven's already working for them, I think. Can't do myself. Okay, proposed deal on Charlie Haas for Shane Helms. Fine. So he's in. Still need a few more here. So we're going to go for Elix Skipper and trade him for CW. Yeah, that's going to happen as well. So we got 5. Need 3 more. It's possible. Maybe. Actually, it might not be possible. You could actually only get 2 more, I think, but we could still work something out with that. So I'm not going to give up yet. So what am I looking at? Well, we're looking at everyone now. Disco Machine. Will they take Kid Chaos? Yes, they'll take anyone basically. I think for some of these wrestlers. So we've also got Shark Boy that we can bring in. I think, yeah. For Rose, yeah. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't think there's anyone else on their roster that I can bring in that they're willing to give me. They're not willing to give me the Renegade. Okay, Crush. Kid Flash is Billy Kidman, who we've already got, obviously. So really, unless I can get them to part with Hey Crush, which I don't think, I think they've made it clear that there's no one that they want from my roster for him. Even CM Punk or Dave Batista or any of my tag teams. So yeah, that's a real shame. In fact, I can't even offer them any of these tag teams now. So we've got 7 wrestlers. It's not really enough for what I want to do. And it doesn't lend itself quite so well to what I was hoping for here. But anyway, we'll do what we can with this next show. Let's just look at when the best place for it is. Monday week 2, I think, is when we will do this. It is RWR versus Omega is the name of the show. You'll see also I did book a show here for the future that I've not talked about yet, and that is RWR 50, which will come in the second show in July. So 3 events away yet, but I just wanted to mark it in because I knew I would forget if we got there. That will be our 50th show when we get to it. Okay, so we've got those wrestlers in now. We're going to just, we're just going to proceed on to the next show. And this gives me a little bit of time to thank you for watching and to encourage you to give us a like if you enjoy today's episode and also subscribe if you want to continue to follow along with this series. Also, get and listen to our podcast. The Random Wrestling Revue is available on all podcasting apps that you could imagine. And let me know how you're feeling about this series and how you're feeling about the channel in general. As I've said many times before, I am enjoying this series a lot, and I'd like to see it continue for a very long time. The more comments, the more likes that we get for this, for these episodes, the greater my kind of motivation to continue is. Really, not that I'm running out of motivation, but I just think it'd be great to get as many people on board as possible watching this series as we try to turn the Random Wrestling Review into something significant in the wrestling industry. You can see here a news report saying Randy Savage is likely to stay with WCW. That's about all from in terms of big stories. So let's go to this show then. And I am going to have to sort of make this up as I go along because I did have a full card that I was looking forward to bringing you, and now it's pretty much all not going to happen now because all of the wrestlers that I want to put in these matches are less popular than my wrestlers. So that's not the best way. Anyway, we're going to start with a 3 versus 3 in this. Or are we going to do this? Actually, I think we'll bring this now down to a 2 versus 2 because obviously we've got one less wrestler than we had previously hoped for. So Charlie Haas and C.W. Anderson are going to face, I think we're going to Disco Machine and Shane Helms. So that's the team they're facing in the opener. We'll make it an open match and work the crowd. I mean, I guess ultimately our fans won't know who these people are anyway. So it's not so we can pretend that they're a big deal, even if they're not. Doesn't really matter who loses out of the opponents, and we'll make it pinfall finish. So this is going to be a lot less of a good show than I was hoping for because my original plan was have the Shadow versus the Renegade, Dave Batista versus Brian Lawler, and Buddy Wayne versus K Crush. And K Crush, Lawler, and Renegade are all wrestlers with quite a lot of popularity in the northwest of North America. So it would have made for some actually quite big matches. As it is, all these matches are going to be a lot less impressive than they previously would have been. We are going to put Billy Kidman against Loki. That was always a plan for me. And we're going to have Loki win this one. And we're going to have an all-out match, pinfall finish. So that will be 1-1 because we will have won, RWR will have won the first match and Omega would have won the second match. Then another singles match, which will see CM Punk against AJ Styles. And this is another one I'd planned for. And this one will go 11 minutes. And before we do that, AJ Styles is going to be the winner. We'll make this storytelling with a pinfall finish. I'm actually going to move. Yeah, that was okay. Well, we're going to keep that then. I was thinking about moving that match up, but I've decided against it. Buddy Wayne will face. God, who are we going to put him up against? So who have we got? We got Danny Davis, Shark Boy. I think it needs to be Shark Boy. Sad as that is for Buddy Wayne. He was going to lose this match as well. I'm not going to make it Shark Boy. It's going to be Danny Davis. So Buddy Wayne versus Danny Davis in this one. We'll make it 10 minutes. But it's going to be a win for Danny Davis. Painted win. And that's how that's going. In fact, we'll make that a storytelling match as well. Because we do need one on the show somewhere. I'm thinking of changing this around. Billy Kidman's actually going to face Shark Boy. It's very frustrating. But yeah, just a shame really that we couldn't get in the wrestlers that we wanted to from Omega. Doesn't need to be an all-out match though, does it now? So we'll just make it that. Shark Boy is gonna win the match. We're gonna have an angle. I don't know exactly when it's gonna happen on the show, but basically it's gonna be Ace Steel coming out and complaining about what happened last month. Bruce Hart makes some announcements. I'll go into detail about what all this is in just a minute. I'm going to leave it there for the moment. Might move the card around a little bit in a second. Might not. We'll see. Then we're going to have Dave Bautista. He was going to go up against Brian Lawler. He's now going to go up against Loki, in the hope that Loki's decent enough in the ring that he can kind of get a decent match here. I keep doing that. I keep booking the match before I put my very road agent notes in. Loki's not going to be the winner. Dave Bautista's the winner. We'll make it an open match though. Once again with a pinfall finish. And then the main event is not going to be for the title, but it is going to feature our new champion, the Shadow. And he's got to face the Elix Skipper. Are we really going to make that the main event? I'm not sure. If I'm perfectly honest with you, I might change it to the match between Buddy Wayne and Danny Davis. I don't know. Elix Skipper is not. He's not particularly popular at all. I think we're going to go with this. I don't like it, but this is what we're going to go with. And what that should be, so it's not going to be for the title, but what that should mean is that we win the first match, then Omega win the second and the third and the fourth. So it's 3-1 to them, but then Batista and the Shadow win to make it 3-all. It's a draw. Everybody's happy. I kind of wanted it to be realistic. Could have had us beat Omega 6-0, but I just don't think that the two companies would have agreed to do that. So this is actually how it's going to be set out. Still complaining. When are we? So we do need to change the storylines here a bit. So we decided that this storyline is done. And the world title picture is also kind of done. But we'll use this one and change this around. So what we're going to do into this one is add Bruce Hart into this story, and also Keith Hart, I think. So we've really only got two stories going at the moment, and one of them is just the story of how two men who used to be in a feud are now in a tag team. So I think for the next show, we're going to need a bit of a refresh in terms of some new feuds and some new things going on in the company. I already have some idea of what those things are going to be, though, so don't worry too much. And yeah, I think this is how the show is going to go. So have a look at the booking analysis. Everything is fine there. We are allowing a lot of wrestlers a week off, or a month, a show off. We're allowing a lot of people a night off for this one. But I think this is what we'll go with. I'm not at all convinced by this. And to be honest, the minute I started putting this together, I thought, yeah, this might be a mistake. But nevertheless, this is what we're going with. Let's see how the show goes. It gets a crowd of 87, which is the best we've had for a little bit of time, actually. And in the opener, Red Alert defeat Disco Machine and Shane Helms in 9 minutes and 4 seconds when Charlie Haas pinned Disco Machine with a total hostility. I have not heard that move before. CW Anderson had a 23, so did Shane Helms and Disco Machine. Charlie Haas had a 27, so that's pretty good from him. Segment rating of 26, not too bad to open the show. Then we have Billy Kidman versus Shark Boy, where Shark Boy gets the victory in 7:29 by pinfall. This is actually Kidman's best performance for us so far. A 23 rating for him, a 20 for Shark Boy, segment rating of 21. Then we had CM Punk versus AJ Styles in a pretty decent match here. AJ Styles wins the match in 11 minutes and 8 seconds by pinfall with a frog splash. So CM Punk actually suffers his first loss in the company here. He got an in-ring performance of 28, AJ Styles in 26. Interestingly enough, though, Punk and AJ Styles don't seem to click, and it made for an awkward bout. So segment rating of 30, but the hope would have been that these two could have put on something very, very special indeed, but they did not click, which is a real shame. Anyway, the score by this point is 2-1 to Omega. And it's now 3-1 when Danny Davis... Oh, hang on. I've booked Buddy Wayne to win by pinfall with a handful of tights. That was a mistake. I've genuinely meant to make Danny Davis the victor. And for whatever reason, I've not done that. It's got a segment rating of 28. Buddy Wayne had an in-ring performance of 34. Danny Davis is 16. I can return to the booking screen and change what comes next, I suppose. So I cannot have Batista lose, and I can't have the Shadow lose either. So we have really screwed this up. Yeah, I'm just gonna continue the show. Unfortunately, that's just how this show's gonna go. We're gonna actually beat Omega 4-2 rather than draw 3-3. But that's just me really not doing well with this show at all. I apologize. This has just been an absolute disaster. So next up, we have the big segment of the night, the big angle of the night. Ace Steel comes out to talk to the crowd and to talk to the management of the Random Wrestling Revue, and he is angry. And he says that last month he was screwed out of a proper title shot for the second year in a row. He said that about this time last year, he had to go into a three-way match for the title with Dave Batista was the champion, and he was screwed out of the match, last year. This year he comes back around as a number one contender one more time, and what do you know? Bruce Hart puts him once again in a three-way match with Batista as champion, and he's been screwed out of the title again, and he blames Bruce Hart. Bruce Hart comes out and says that he sympathizes with Ace Steel and his perspective on this. It was a really unfortunate circumstance that befell Ace Steel. He says they had never considered the scenario that took place before, and they made a decision on the night that some will disagree with, others will feel was the right one. They say that they've now instituted a new rule, which is that if someone who is challenging the champion in a title match wins by countout or disqualification and doesn't win the title, then there will be an instant rematch granted to that challenger, and the waiting number one contender, the person with the next best amount of points, will just have to wait until a conclusive finish has taken place between the two people fighting. So effectively, those kind of circumstances now will lead to an automatic rematch, as opposed to trying to come up with some thing like a three-way or whatever to resolve them. Ace Steel says that's all very well and good, but it does nothing for him. He's lost all of his points, and he can't help but notice that he and his brother have been given every opportunity to win matches and to become the tag team champions. And something stinks around here. There is a real sense of unfairness at the center of this company. And Bruce Hart says that Ace Steel should rest assured that he accepts that accusation, and that he has decided that because it is untenable for him to continue to wrestle, that he will no longer be included in the rankings in any way, and that should um and that should he and he also will never give himself another title shot for any belt whatsoever. Ace Steel then demands to get a rematch against the Shadow, and Bruce Hart reminds him that that's not how the ranking system in the Random Wrestling Revue works. You get a title shot, and if you lose that match, you lose your points. And he says that he has, and he says that basically that whilst they still might not agree with it, the person who is currently the number one contender with the most points is his brother Keith Hart, and Keith Hart will face the Shadow at the next event in the main event, which Ace Steel is very angry about, and Bruce Hart walks out. Still continues to be angry as the segment ends. Segment rating of 31 here, a bit longer than usual, but ultimately we are sending Ace Steel on a collision course with Bruce and Keith Hart. Then we had Dave Batista versus Low Key in a very poor match, 23 rated match here, about dragged in the middle with a lack of flow being noticeable. 10 minutes 59 seconds, Batista wins by pinfall. He got an in-ring performance of 32, which is really good. Low Key at 21. And then the main event is the Shadow versus Elix Skipper, but because the Shadow is so good at the moment, this got a segment rating of 38 and avoided this show being a bit of a washout ultimately. Shadow and an in-ring performance of 40 to Elite Skipper's in-ring performance of 22. The Random Wrestling Review win the RWR versus Omega show 4-2. And this one went 12-21, and Shadow wins by submission. A segment rating of 38, and the Shadow has saved the show in many respects. I mean, look, we would have increased our popularity in one region no matter what here, because our popularity is still really, really low in the Northwest. But to ensure that we're kind of still setting our usual levels of quality, the Shadow winning here is a real the Shadow performing in the way that he performed here is a real boost for us. So I'm going to definitely give the Shadow a great performance praise. Underneath, I think we'll give Ace Steel a compliment for that talking segment that he did. And actually, Charlie Haas was good in the opener, so I'm going to give him a compliment as well. You notice I only ever give compliments. I don't know if there's a positive to having a go at people for not performing well, but yeah, it's just not something that um I do. This is really interesting. Randy Savage may find himself in the midst of a bidding war after rumors began circulating that WWC are seriously interested in making him a lucrative offer to come and work for them. It will be interesting to see what Randy Savage decides. So maybe WWF are in on that as well. Who knows? That will be interesting to see. All of those wrestlers are now gone from the Random Wrestling Review, which is actually a little bit of a relief. It clearly was not a great idea to do that. Didn't really work out, but we got through it. We're through the other side. Now I need to set up a new event for later in June. This one's going to be on Monday, week 4, I think, of June. Another special, I suppose. And what is it going to be? I think we're going to get them to suggest the name, because I'm not sure what we're going to. RWR Bring the Pain. Tempting. Something to Prove. I'm gonna call it that. RWR Something to Prove. Don't hate that name. And it kind of fits a little bit, given that we've got accusations of nepotism against Keith and Bruce Hart, and favoritism, I suppose, not just nepotism. As it will be Keith Hart who gets the next title shot. Incidentally, those matches in the RWR versus Omega show will count towards the rankings. This is how the rankings looked before that show, though. So apologies, I should have shown you this at the start of the episode. And as you can see, things have changed quite dramatically since last month. Obviously, Batista down to 0 points, as is Ace Steel, following their loss in the triple threat match to the Shadow, who is now the champion with 12 points. Keith Hart and Bruce Hart are below him. But as we've revealed in that angle, Bruce Hart will be removing himself from the rankings entirely. Will no longer be a part of it. Underneath that, you've got ECMO, CW Anderson, and Buddy Wayne on 5 points. Now, of course, that will have changed following some of them being in action in this most recent show. Chemo and Charlie Haas on 4, CM Punk, Sean Stasiak on 3, Barry Buchanan on 2, Billy Kidman, Rose, Kid Chaos all on 1, and Dave Batista, Ace Steel, and Dog on 0. And with that being done, we are going to move on to our next show. We're not going to fit it in, obviously, on this episode. And that was a bit of a strange episode, that one. I had a plan. As I said before, I want to do a show every single month, but I don't want them both to be just normal shows. I kind of where I can, I want to add something with a little bit of difference. And I was very, very aware as well, coming out of the last event, that we needed something with a little bit of difference, because we didn't have really any stories that I was ready to really push forward. So it needed a little bit of a show that could just fill a gap almost, whilst they came up with some ideas. I've got some ideas for the next show, which we've already got the main event for the Shadow versus Keith Hart. I've already thought of a number of other matches that will get us where I want to go to in the future. And I think this is the challenge now, though. Adding a second show per month in terms of the game time, game in terms of game in-game time, is is going to be a bit more complicated because I'm trying to balance holding things back and then just booking as organically as I can. So maybe I'll just take a few months of doing this to get me into the rhythm of booking 2 events per month. We'll see. I don't know how that's going to go. And of course, in August we don't need to do that because we've got our Super Summer Tag Team Extravaganza event. This is interesting. Sunny's been kicked out, removed from the Body Donners. So not sacked as I thought that was originally going to be. She's just, yeah, she's been kicked out. We've got some news as well here. Uh, yeah, so Omega have actually run a show, and that might mean I might have been able to enable that. So yeah, they ran a show where they actually finally ran a show. The Renegade is the Omega champion. So it's almost by giving them some trades, they were able to run an event. What do you know about that? Anyway, that was all the wrestlers we traded to them in exchange for the wrestlers we got. So yeah, that worked out quite well. Anyway, we've run over time actually, so we better stop right there. We'll be back again very shortly. Until then, thank you for watching.